If you are serious about using your health-focused podcast as a lead and revenue generator for your business, there are 4 fundamental things that you need to understand and apply to your podcast. I call these the 4 health podcast success pillars, and I'm going to give you a breakdown of each pillar and how they're all required to create a successful health or wellness podcast that works to help you achieve your business goals. This is Profits Through Podcasting, and I'm your host, Joel Oliver. So a successful health-focused podcast must have all 4 of these in place. Without one of the pillars, it's like a chair. It'll fall over. Although, as my business partner tells me, who's also my brother, a chair can kind of stay up with 3 legs, but I digress. That's besides the point. I'm going to say you need all 4 of these. I've seen these in common amongst all of the successful health and wellness podcasts I've come across in our clients and elsewhere that are doing this well, and they're actually getting results for their business out of it. Okay, so the first pillar is content. What you're putting out there has to actually be good and deliver value. You have to deeply understand the struggles of your ideal client, whether you are a health business coach or you're providing health advice. You have to tailor your content to address the specific needs, pain points, and interests of your ideal client. As well, beyond that, the whole presentation of the episodes must be of a good enough quality to keep and retain listeners and present you as a professional, as an authority figure, okay? So the sound quality, the editing, the structure of your episodes all should reflect professionalism. We don't want to give a bad impression of you. As well, poor audio quality is one of the biggest ways to lose listeners. It's one of the top things people say as to why they turn off a podcast. If it doesn't sound good, they're not going to keep listening. So we want to make sure that your content is in line, both from the actual content perspective, what you're talking about, the value you're delivering, and then how it's presented in the quality there. I actually saw something not too long ago. It was a podcast clip on Instagram with captions. You know, you've seen a lot of these. You probably do them yourself, I hope. And actually, the company's product that they were promoting. So this is on a company page. It was a sponsor of a podcast episode. They're promoting their product and they're doing some podcast appearances and then posting clips of them. So it was relating to sunlight, this product, but the captions on the screen at one point for the word sun spelled it with an O, S-O-N instead of S-U-N. And I thought, that's so embarrassing. This is not a good look for this company. You know, I'm not sure if as a society we have stopped caring in the age of AI, like if AI generated captions and content is okay, we don't care anymore. I don't know what the general consensus is amongst the public, but in my opinion, that's not acceptable. That is a really bad look for any company, any podcaster, anyone that's trying to come across as an authority and earn business. Spelling mistakes like that are super embarrassing. Okay, so I just know the work that we do, we check all that very carefully, proofread it multiple times, have multiple people look at it, because that is the kind of stuff that is going to ensure you are not taken seriously, you are not trusted, you are not respected, right? So that's an important aspect here. All this comes together for our first pillar of content. What you put out there has to be valuable and of high quality. And on that note, to build trust with you specifically, I recommend that you get the opportunity to demonstrate authority in your episodes. So if you're currently doing all interviews, also mix in some solo episodes at this point as well. Maybe you're already doing all solo or a mix. That's good. People like you, they want to hear your authority. And typically, if you're having guests on all the time, listeners are really only ever getting to hear their thoughts, their opinions. You know, you're just asking the questions for the most part. So it's definitely good to mix it up and show yourself as well. So add in some solo episodes in addition to interviews. The next health podcast success pillar is audience. So we need an audience to sell to and to become your fans. It doesn't need to be a huge audience. So let's get that out of the way. Going viral is not the goal with this stuff. And it's easy to get caught up in this mindset when you look on YouTube and you see videos with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or even millions of views and thinking, I have to do that. That's not the case at all. You don't need an audience of that size to build a profitable business, okay? You can certainly aspire to it, but don't think that just because you have, say, 100 downloads an episode, that that's not good enough or you can't use that, okay? The most important thing is that it is the right audience. Having a big audience of people who are not your ideal clients and are not going to buy from you, that's obviously not going to help you. But if you have a smaller audience and they are all very qualified buyers who are your exact ideal client and they want what you're offering, that's much better. So don't get too hung up on numbers, but we do want to see some growth over time. Of course, we want to make sure we are doing the right things to grow the show and get more leads, but just don't get too obsessed with having giant download numbers and a giant number of followers, that sort of thing. But sure, going in that direction is okay. So how do we grow the show? How do we build that audience up? Well, you can accelerate your growth by doing things like making appearances on other podcasts. You can invite guests onto your episodes, of course, we know that. But when you do that, you want to make sure you're leveraging those appearances. So follow up with the guests, make sure they have everything they need to promote their appearance on your show within their network. Okay, so it's not just having them on, but if you want them to promote your show and get that full benefit of reaching their audience, you've got to do some work on your end as well. Also, to grow the show, network within your industry. So good old-fashioned in-person networking can be great. You can, of course, network online as well, but it's great to get out in front of real people and connect and let them know you've got a podcast. And also foster an engaged community. So be interactive, connect with your audience outside of the podcast, like on social media or through a newsletter. Be open to feedback, encourage interaction, that sort of thing. Engage and foster that community so they are loyal to you, they know you well, and they will stick around for a long time. So that is pillar number 2, audience. You want to do everything that you can to ensure that your audience is there and growing, because that's an important part. Without the audience, you've got no one to talk to or sell to. The third health podcast success pillar is your offer. So you've got to have a solid business and a funnel and a high ticket offer in place for this to all work. Okay, this is a very important one. A leaky bucket type of business of losing clients and poor conversion rates and low margins, that has to be fixed first. Otherwise, no marketing of any type will help. If you are just racing to bring in clients, but they're not converting on your sales call, or when you do get a client, they stop your service really fast, they don't stay with you, and you're not making much money, all those sorts of things, that's not a good business fundamentally. Okay, so why would you be marketing, whether it's a podcast or paid advertising, whatever the case, if you're just losing all that business? You can't actually make a proper ROI from it. So a high ticket offer with recurring revenue, if possible, is very good. That provides you the margins that you need to generate an ROI from podcasting. If we're only selling a little $20 book, that's not going to help pay the bills, right? You need to sell a lot more of those books to make any money versus having a high ticket offer and making one sale. So we need to have that for this to work. You need to understand your perfect clients and be able to deliver the outcome that they want. And of course, make them feel that in your marketing and your messaging. They have that confidence that you are the one to help them. As well, connected to your offer, a lead magnet is a great thing to have and promote in your podcast to collect and nurture leads, or you can promote your business directly, or you can do a bit of both. But either way, all roads should lead to your high ticket offer as a centerpiece. A lead magnet is an interesting way to do it because if you're only promoting your services, sure, some of that can work, but not everyone is ready to buy right away. And there's a huge benefit in doing the lead magnet thing where you get their email, then you send them a list of emails, a nurture sequence or whatever you want to call it. And over time, then they purchase from you. So that's a highly valuable thing, but you've got to have that offer in place and then look at how to frame it and promote it within your podcast and to the audience that you've got built. If your business has any of the issues that I mentioned, it's just not got a good ROI, you're not able to serve the clients properly and keep them, those sorts of things, you really need to get back to the drawing board and assess that type of thing first. Otherwise, none of this is going to work. And you're barking up the wrong tree to think that a podcast is going to fix your business when you've got all those problems going on. And finally, health podcast success pillar number 4 is commitment. So like anything, building a successful podcast takes time. You've got to be dedicated to doing this over a period of years, right? Establish and stick to a predictable release schedule. The consistency is what helps grow your audience and grow your fan base. If you're just doing it here and there, that's not going to fly. It's not going to get the results that you want. And as well, to make this happen and make it easy for you, your podcast duties for your episodes should not be anything other than recording, approving the episodes, and possibly guest outreach. So if you're doing guest interviews, you've got to have a system in place to connect with those guests, get them scheduled, provide them some info before and after the episodes. But both for that and solo episodes, you're going to have to do some preparation as well. Preparing notes, outlines of episodes, perhaps questions, those sorts of things. And if you're an expert delegator, well, you might even have this stuff outsourced to someone else as well. But at the very least, like I said, you should just be able to focus on the recording of the episodes, listening to them, approving the stuff, and that's about it. And that means your workflow is going to be efficient. It's going to be easy. There's not going to be any friction that causes you to get stressed and think, oh, I've got to figure out an episode for this week. We don't have one to go out on time. Now everyone's in a rush and it's a big deal. No, working ahead is the way to ensure consistency over time and that commitment that I'm talking about. You want to have all these systems in place so it's nice and easy for you and we can get those benefits, allow you to podcast for multiple years, long enough to actually see the results that podcasting can provide and not get stressed or burned out from trying to do all this stuff on your own. Right. So ensure you have a proper team and workflow in place to take that friction out of podcasting and optimize your chances for success over the long term. And what that also does is free up your time so you can focus on the other things that are most important in your business. There's no need to be doing things that just someone else can do. Right? You've got better things. You've always got higher leverage activities to do in your business. So by freeing up time and delegating where possible, it'll allow you to focus on those things and make sure that everything can flow nicely, including what we're talking about here, your podcast, episode after episode, week after week, goes out consistently, helps you build that audience with minimal effort required on your part. So those are the 4 health podcast success pillars that I have seen over the years from all the different clients that we worked with. These are the things that all their podcasts have in common when I see their podcast being used successfully as a marketing tool for their health and wellness business. Join us again next time on Profits Through Podcasting for more insights on how to turn your health-focused podcast into a lead and revenue generation machine for your business. Are you ready to let a team of professionals handle your entire podcast production workflow? East Coast Studio can help you elevate your podcast to the higher quality standards required for credibility in the health and wellness space. Plus, give you the guidance and support needed to podcast consistently, growing your impact and your sales. Visit eastcoaststudio.com to learn more.